Hello everyone, Paul Elam here, coming to you with another installment from A Voice for Men. Before I start on today's talk, let me take a moment to thank my many new subscribers. I really appreciate your being here. I used to take the time to post personal thank yous to your channel pages, but between this channel, my website, Men's News Daily, and working on a book, I've neglected that for a while. I appreciate your patience with my lapse in manners. Okay, now, so I've been asked on more than one occasion to do a video on some of the problem children in the men's rights movement, on some of the people that inhabit our ranks but who may do more harm than good. I've been a little hesitant to do this, mostly because we have enough problems with divisions and infighting, and I really don't want to do anything more to aggravate that problem. But it is worth a little friction for the sake of clarifying my own position to my subscribers, so here goes. First, defining a real MRA, at least to me, is just as hard as defining what a real man is. And that's to say that I can't say what a real man or a real MRA is with any authority whatsoever. All I can do is offer my opinion. That being said, my personal definition of an MRA is very loose, but it isn't just about being against feminism. A lot of people are against feminism, but you would never know it unless you ask them, and you might not get an honest answer anyway, depending on who's listening. They are the silent and quite useless majority, and they are more hindrance than help because they care more about social and political approval than in speaking up for their values. And the truth remains that if you can leave your values at the door when you walk into a room, you never really had them to begin with. MRAs, in my experience, are people who have and act on their values wherever they are. It is what will eventually make the movement an unstoppable force for change. To me, you know an MRA as soon as you hear them talk about gender politics. When someone makes an obnoxious and stupid statement like, if women were in charge, there wouldn't be any wars, the MRA is the man or woman that stands up and says, hey, that's bullshit, and then spouts off a string of names like Margaret Thatcher, Golda Meir, Indira Gandhi, and any one of a number of female European monarchs. The MRA is the one person that will publicly rip the covers off someone who is spouting slanted numbers from an imaginary gender wage gap or making the ridiculous claim that domestic violence is mostly a male thing. So in the simplest of terms, an MRA is anyone that sees the emperor has no clothes, and more importantly, they say so out loud. The Marxist feminist hate mongers were successful in hiding behind a thin facade of equalitarianism for a long time simply because no one wanted to challenge them. It was the MRAs that finally blew the whistle on the stinking lot of them, and they continue to do so every time the opportunity arises. Another group of men, part of a social phenomena we now call men going their own way, are also MRAs in my opinion. These are guys who see through the misandry of modern times and vote with their feet about marriage and about relationships, and they won't play fetch for a woman simply to get laid, nor for attention and approval, and certainly not for a pathetic illusion of love. See, all of this part is easy to talk about. Most of us agree that feminism is the enemy of decency and justice, that it is nothing more than a female supremacy dressed up as a movement for equality. And we all agree that the MRAs are the ones actually doing something about it. But it gets a little more sticky when we start talking about what an MRA is not. But it is an important dialogue nonetheless, because in defining what an MRA is not, we get the opportunity to rid ourselves of some pretty heavy baggage. First, a chivalrist is not an MRA. The guy who thinks his purpose in life is to care for women like they were children, to pay their way, to open all their doors, to rescue them from the harshness of the world, to pamper them and treat them like a princess is no friend to men and boys. He is just a trained seal balancing a ball on his nose for a piece of fish, and he is as treacherous and untrustworthy as a man can be. He will sell his brother out over a skirt and a pair of legs. He will teach his sons to sell their soul the same way he has, to live on their knees the way he does, because it is the only identity he knows. He sees himself as good and gallant, but he is actually a white knight with a black heart and bloody hands. He may call himself a traditionalist or chime on about his family values, but he's really just interested in getting laid and being popular with women. He has no identity whatsoever without their approval, And he has much more in common with feminists than he does with us, because in every waking moment he is about and only about giving women whatever they want in exchange for their approval, in exchange for their love. And he will walk right over all of our rights to do so. And regrettably, I assert that traditionalists must be approached with some amount of caution. Now, I have no qualms with men who choose and succeed at traditional marriage, and my hat is off to them. But I always keep in mind that they are the exception, not the rule. The traditionalist who knows their good fortune will not aspire to indenture other men to their path in life. They recognize the risk and vulnerabilities of modern marriage, and they do not condemn, but rather fully support men who choose not to go that way. They stand behind men who choose to untether themselves from the role of protector and provider and do not let shaming language about that choice pass between their lips. And they see their path in life as one of free will, not of the mandated disposability to which men have been historically yoked. I feel for families that are in trouble in this culture, but the men and boys bear the worst of that burden, so it is them I'm concerned about. Not marriage, not women or girls as a group, but men and boys only. I know that seeking justice for them will eventually bring the best to everyone, so I care about nothing else. Now, to me, the biggest pretender in the men's rights movement is the neocon. This is the right-wing moron who thinks that a vote for Sarah Palin or some other Republican du jour is a vote for men in general. In fact, this usurper is more dangerous than the left-wing moron. We already know the left is owned and operated by feminists. We already know their thinking is saturated in misandry, that they embrace whatever they are told to by McKinnon and the rest of that ilk. But that chap from the right, the one who hangs out in the MRA forums and contributes to threads cheering on the men's rights movement and weaving in pitches for Republican politics as usual, is like a cancer growing near our vital organs. The modern right offers men nothing more than religious fundamentalism, conscription to traditional marriage, and disposable roles for men like that of cannon fodder. All the things that have hindered us from fighting back against feminism in the first place. It still seems clear that elements in the right hold much more actual promise for men than anything on the left, but that promise won't be realized with blind allegiance and automatic votes. The right must be brought back on track towards small government, constitutional ideas, and must become openly and energetically counter-feminist to be anything but useless to us. We must hold allegedly conservative leaders to account for participating in travesties like VAWA and the full gamut of feminist garbage that they have either supported with their votes or with their shameful silence. Joe Neocon in the comments section doesn't care about all that. He just wants to push his Republican candidate. So it is Joe Neocon that should be pushed right out of the men's rights movement and into the street where he belongs. Well, that's it for another installment from A Voice for Men. I hope you enjoyed today's talk, and see you next time.